I'm Darren, DOG, and welcome to Gender Mender. In this channel, I'll be sharing with you my 20 years of experience of working with the Toltec Gender Wisdom to help you bring about gender insight and mastery within your life and relationships. Now, the Toltec Gender Wisdom is unlike any other gender work out there in the world at the minute, as you will see in the videos that will come. I've been working with it for over 20 years myself, as taught by TOW and Maris, who is now no longer with us. But I have adapted and integrated it to be more suited to the Western culture so that it fits seamlessly with modern thinking and ideologies in a way which I am sure you will find accessible and useful. I've been teaching on this for over 10 years and have helped thousands of people achieve insight into what's going on in their current relationships and what's perhaps gone wrong in the past ones, so they can perhaps not make the same mistakes as before. But the motivation for this channel is way more than just to help people have better relationships. We live in a world where there is much gender confusion, where the subject of gender is being confused with garments or face paint or jobs, when in actual fact none of these are gendered things. Indigenous tribes around the world will see everybody wearing frocks at different times and everybody wearing face paints at different times. So it's not really an actual indicator of gender, and yet it's being used as such here in the West. So this channel is to help everybody of all orientations and all preferences to achieve gender insight, because we do all have the masculine and the feminine in us, and as we go on through the videos you'll find out exactly what I mean by that, because it's perhaps not what you think initially. But what do I mean by gender mastery? Well, if you look at my hands now, I can use them quite well. I can do art and craft. I can carry a cup of coffee without spilling it on you or me. I can catch a ball, things like that, and much more. And my voice box, I can make sounds that you can understand. But I wasn't always like that. When I was a baby on the mat, I would be kicking like this, kicking and spasming and clawing my mum when I was trying to caress her. I was filling my nappy. I had no bowel control. And neither did you. You've been there as well. But we went from these babies that had no dexterity with our limbs and no capacity with our larynx to, we went from this creature that couldn't control them to one which can control them very, very well. Now, it took a long time though. I mean, the time it took for me to be able to, go from not knowing what to do with a hand and knocking over everything I touched with it to the dexterity I have now has taken a lot of work, a lot of practice, and a lot of getting it wrong. Now, here's the interesting thing. Nobody showed you what you do with a hand to be able to lift it. Nobody showed you what you do with a leg to make it move. Nobody showed you what you do with a larynx. You just saw people doing it and kept trying stuff until you got good at it. And even now, I'll bet that you don't actually know how. In fact, let's do an exercise. Lift your hand with me. And then put it down. How did you do that? Now, I've asked that question to thousands of people, and there's always some smarty pants in the audience that says, well, a signal went from my brain to my hand and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that is what happened, but you did not do that. You didn't consciously say, okay, signal go from brain to hand, lift. I'm asking you, how did you lift your hand? And I've never met a human being who can actually answer the question. It's not a trick. It's to let you know that you don't need to know how to do things. And you don't need a set of 1, 2, 3 instructions to get good at something. But here's the thing. In our life, we've seen plenty of people who can show us what we do with hands. It's easy. But when our emotional self blossoms or blooms or births properly at puberty, it's just like the physical body. It's just made of something different, emotions. But it spasms in the same way with arousal, self-consciousness, curiosity, attraction. But where are the good examples of what we do with it, and how are we supported to become skillful, to become dexterous with our emotions in the same way as we are with our bodies? For most people, they didn't get very good examples, or not as good as, how to walk and talk. And the support wasn't really, oh, it's all right that you've knocked over the cup of the milk for the 500th time, it's fine. That tends to not be the kind of support that people get when they start to express their sensuality, their sexuality, and their general emotional spectrum. And so many people then start to pretend that they don't have emotions. They'll be like, I don't have any anger. I've dealt with my anger. I'm a spiritual person. I'm like, blah, 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 whatever. Until they're poked and prodded in the right place by an experience, and boom, they have an outburst or a spasm. And we get to find out where they're really at in life and what your level of mastery really is. Because in the West here, we love to talk about stuff. We love to talk about how we feel or about what we think about the world. But we're not speaking from the feeling. Now, a lot of the outrage videos I've seen in the world today, at least people in them are speaking from the feeling, but it's not very skillful, it's not very dexterous, and it's not achieving the desired outcomes. And it also doesn't look very good and doesn't make you look like you've got a very good grip of yourself. And the mind is actually no different either. Most people who learn things like meditation are actually learning a coping strategy for what to do with a spasming mind that they don't know what to do with, because it's doing exactly the same as what the emotions and what the body did, and that is it spasms and it lashes until we can bring it under our dexterous control. But we need examples and we need support to do so. And gender is no different. We're finally getting to gender mastery. Gender is no different, but gender is not emotion, it is not body, it is not mind, it is something else. But it is no different in that it spasms and it lashes, and that just in the same way that we can have self-harming thoughts and harming emotional behaviours, we can have harmful expressions of our gender energy as well. Now, the problem that we've got in the world is that people throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that means that they see people exhibiting a behaviour and they're like, oh my goodness, like masculinity is a good example. There's all this talk of toxic masculinity and people are binning masculinity, and it's like, but that's just how it's spasmed through that person. That's not the quality itself. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Anger is the most bullied emotion of all, because the first time most people start to show it when they're about 2 years old, they get told, don't speak to me like that, don't behave like that, don't talk to them like that, go to your room, you're not getting dinner, things like that. And the message that gives us is that your anger isn't good enough. Put it away, or go away until you cool down and come back and talk about your anger. Doing that will never achieve any level of anger mastery. And what happens is loads of people hide their anger until now, when you look around the world, there's thousands of ways people express their anger. Some people go, rah, 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 and others go, others just won't phone you. Some others will make you a crap cup of tea, or put a little bit less food on your plate, or give you a little bit of the silent treatment. And they might drip feed their anger over weeks or months or years because they didn't have the dexterity and the skill and the ownership to be like, I am experiencing anger with you because of this, and letting it move through in a healthy, dexterous expression. And instead we get anger drip fed and spat all over the place in all these unusual ways. But it's still anger, even though there's 1,000 ways it is being expressed. Gender is no different. Gender is no different. The qualities are the same, even though the ways in which they move through us are manifold. Thousands of ways masculinity can move through, it can be expressed. Thousands of ways femininity can be expressed. Millions for both of them. But when we throw the baby out with the bathwater, we're doomed. We'll never get skillful with them, and everybody has the masculine and the feminine in them, and if you don't learn to master them, they will spasm and they will lash and they will harm you and they will harm others, they will sabotage your relationships, and you'll never achieve the wholeness and the peace and the love and the connection that you actually want in life. And so that's what I mean when my channel is to support you in achieving gender mastery. It's to help you get a sense of what these things are moving through, regardless of how they're manifesting as behaviours in you right now. If you can get to the nub of what is shared in all of us, of the core of these qualities, then you can start to say, this is how that's spasming through me, this is how this is sabotaging my connection, my communication, my relationships. And not just intimate relationships. Gender energy is everywhere in all of our interactions, as you will see in future videos. And so this is about improving your relationship with your children, your parents, your colleagues, your employees, your employer. Everybody will gain from you going on the journey of gender wisdom and gender insight using the Toltec insights that I will be sharing with you. So I'm just going to check in with myself and see if that's everything I wanted to share on this introductory video. And yes, I know I haven't told you what gender is because that's for a future video. This is just to let you know what the channel is about and what I mean by gender mastery. I hope you get a sense of what I mean by gender mastery now. And if you consider how far you have gone from being the spasming baby on the mat to what you can do with your hands and your voice boxes now, let it be a carrot for you that I'm suggesting that you can achieve the same with your gender and even your emotions and even your mind, where they can all be woven together in a beautiful tapestry of self-expression that is your aspiration and what you perhaps secretly have given up on, perhaps believing you could ever become. Don't give up. There is hope. And through adopting this strategy of seeing it all as a journey to dexterity, no matter where you're at right now, then there's always room for improvement, and where you are right now is fine as well, because we must accept where we are right now if there's ever going to be any progress. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I hope to see you in future videos. And I hope you will pop over to Patreon and support these videos in coming out, where you'll have memes there where you'll get access to juicy extras and to other rewards where you can get involved in the show and maybe even come on and engage in asking questions on how you can make this gender work alive for you. So this is Darren, DOG, the Gender Mender, signing off for the first time. Thank you for your attention. If you like this and want to have a bit more, you can always get in touch with me for a one-to-one or a couple session, or get me along to speak to your group or school or class. I'd be happy to delve deeply into these subjects beyond these little introductions that we cover in these videos. If you'd like to see more of these kind of videos coming along, please feel free to support me over on the Patreon page, and otherwise I wish you well on your journey to gender mastery.